The Art and Science of Whiskey Making, a Comparative Exploration. Whiskey, a distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash, is cherished worldwide for its complex flavors, rich heritage, and cultural significance. While the general process of whiskey production follows a series of universal steps: malting, mashing, fermentation, distillation, maturation, and bottling, nuances in ingredients, methods, and aging conditions give rise to distinct varieties such as Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, bourbon, and brandy. Each of these spirits reflects its geographical roots and local traditions, resulting in unique taste profiles and classifications. 1. The whiskey making process. The basic process of whiskey making begins with selecting grains, commonly barley, corn, rye, or wheat. These grains are milled and combined with water to create a mash, which is then heated to activate enzymes that convert starches into fermentable sugars. Yeast is added to this mash to start fermentation, producing alcohol and flavor compounds. The fermented liquid, known as wash, is distilled to increase the alcohol concentration and refine the flavor. This is typically done in pot stills or column stills, depending on the desired spirit style. The distillate is then aged in wooden casks, most often oak barrels, which impart color, flavor, and character over time. Now let us explore how this process differs among Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, bourbon, and brandy. 2. Irish whiskey. Irish whiskey is known for its smooth, light, and often slightly sweet character. Made primarily in Ireland, it typically uses a mix of malted and unmalted barley. One defining feature is its triple distillation process in copper pot stills, which creates a purer and smoother spirit. Irish whiskey must be aged in wooden casks for at least 3 years. The Irish climate, being relatively mild and damp, allows for a gentler maturation process. Brands such as Jameson and Bushmills are iconic examples. Notably, Irish whiskey is spelled with an E. This is a distinction often maintained to separate it from its Scottish cousin. 3. Scotch whiskey. Scotch whiskey, or simply Scotch, is made in Scotland and comes in several forms: single malt, blended malt, single grain, and blended whiskey. The most revered form is single malt Scotch, made from 100% malted barley, at a single distillery using pot stills. Scotch is typically distilled twice and must be aged for a minimum of 3 years in oak barrels. A signature element of many Scotches, especially those from Islay, is the use of peat to dry the malted barley, imparting a smoky, earthy flavor. Scotch whiskey tends to be more robust and complex than Irish whiskey, often with flavors of smoke, sea salt, and dried fruits. 4. Bourbon. Bourbon is a distinctly American spirit, legally required to be made in the United States. It must consist of at least 51% corn in its grain bill, which gives it a sweeter and fuller body compared to other whiskies. Unlike Scotch and Irish whiskey, bourbon is aged in new, charred oak barrels, which impart strong notes of vanilla, caramel, and spice. It is typically distilled using column stills and must be aged for at least 2 years to be labeled straight bourbon, though many are aged longer for richer flavor. Kentucky is especially famous for bourbon production, with brands like Maker's Mark and Buffalo Trace leading the market. 5. Brandy, a contrast. Brandy, though often confused with whiskey, is a distinct category altogether. While whiskey is made from grain mash, Brandy is distilled from fermented fruit juice, usually grapes. This gives it a very different flavor profile, often more floral and fruity. Cognac and Armagnac are two famous types of French brandy, each with specific production rules and regional protections. Brandy is typically aged in oak barrels as well, and high-end brandies rival fine whiskies in complexity and craftsmanship. Conclusion? Whiskey making is both an art and a science, with subtle variations in ingredients, distillation techniques, and aging processes leading to a wide array of spirits. Irish whiskey offers smoothness through triple distillation, Scotch delivers depth and smoke from peat and aging, Bourbon boasts sweetness and boldness from corn and charred oak barrels. Brandy, though similarly aged and distilled, sets itself apart entirely through its fruit-based origin. Together, these spirits showcase the diversity and cultural richness of global distillation traditions, inviting enthusiasts to explore their many nuances one glass at a time.